Hey, Cowboys Nation. If you follow everything surrounding the Dallas Cowboys, you know that the offseason can change direction in a matter of hours. News appears suddenly, rumors spread across the league, and sometimes a move that seemed unlikely ends up becoming reality before anyone has time to process it. And that is exactly the kind of moment the Cowboys fan base is experiencing right now, because Dallas has made a move that adds a new name to the quarterback room. It might not be the headline signing some fans were expecting when free agency began, but it is still a development that raises several interesting questions about the direction of the roster and the competition that will take place in the coming months. The Cowboys have brought in quarterback Sam Howell, a player whose career has already taken a few unexpected turns since entering the league. For a lot of fans, the immediate reaction might be curiosity mixed with a bit of confusion. Why bring in Howell now? What does this mean for the quarterbacks already on the roster? And perhaps the biggest question of all, does this signal that the coaching staff is not completely convinced about the current backup options behind Dak Prescott? To understand why this move is generating conversation, you have to go back to Howell's journey through the National Football League. Coming out of the University of North Carolina, Howell entered the league with solid expectations. He had been a productive college quarterback, showing toughness, mobility, and the kind of arm strength that can make scouts take notice. In the draft, he ended up being selected in the 5th round by Washington, which meant he arrived with the typical label placed on many mid-round quarterbacks. There was potential there, but also a long road ahead if he wanted to become a long-term starter. His first real opportunity came during the final week of his rookie season, when he got a chance to start a game and show what he could do. Moments like that can be important for a young quarterback because they give teams a glimpse of how a player responds under real game pressure. For Howell, that first start placed him directly against the Cowboys, and it was a performance that quickly became part of the conversation surrounding his development. The following season brought an even bigger responsibility. Washington decided to give Howell the chance to run the offense as the starting quarterback, a decision that placed a lot of weight on a player who was still trying to establish himself in the league. Starting an entire season at quarterback in the National Football League is one of the most demanding roles in sports, and it quickly became clear that Howell was going to experience both the highs and the struggles that come with that challenge. Throughout that season, he was heavily involved in the offense. In fact, he finished the year leading the league in pass attempts, which tells you just how much the offense relied on his arm. But that volume also came with difficulties. He faced constant pressure from opposing defenses, and the numbers at the end of the year reflected the tough environment he was playing in. The interception totals were high, the sacks added up quickly, and the team around him was going through its own set of problems as the season unfolded. It is important to remember that quarterback performance rarely exists in isolation. Supporting casts matter, offensive lines matter, coaching systems matter, and Washington during that period was not exactly operating under ideal conditions. The team struggled to win games, finishing the year with only a handful of victories, and that kind of situation can make development extremely complicated for a young quarterback. Even so, Howell did show flashes of ability that continue to intrigue coaches around the league. He demonstrated mobility, adding yards on the ground, and even scoring multiple rushing touchdowns. That ability to move outside the pocket is something many modern offenses value, especially when defenses become aggressive with their pass rush. When a quarterback can escape pressure and extend plays, it creates opportunities that simply do not exist for more stationary players. But after that season, Washington decided it was time to move in a different direction. The organization made the decision to move Howell through a trade, sending him to Seattle in a deal that involved several draft selections being exchanged. It was one of those transactions that seemed complicated on paper, but the basic message was clear. Washington was ready to reset at the quarterback position, and Howell would now try to continue his career with a different franchise. His time in Seattle was relatively quiet in terms of on-field opportunities. He spent most of that period serving in a backup role, which is not unusual for a quarterback still trying to find his place in the league. Backup quarterbacks often spend long stretches without seeing the field, but those seasons can still be important for learning new systems, understanding defensive schemes, and continuing to develop behind the scenes. Eventually, Howell found himself moving again, becoming part of another trade that sent him to Philadelphia. Once there, his role became even more limited as he settled into the depth chart behind other quarterbacks. He spent that time primarily as a reserve option, observing games from the sideline while continuing to prepare in case his number was ever called. Now the story takes another turn because Dallas has decided to bring him into the organization. The Cowboys are clearly looking to create competition and depth at the quarterback position, something that could become extremely important over the course of a long season. Even teams with established starters understand the value of having capable backups ready in case they are needed. Of course, Dak Prescott remains firmly established as the leader of the offense. There is no confusion about that. He is the starting quarterback, the face of the offense, and the player the Cowboys rely on to guide the team through the season. Moves like the signing of Howell are not about replacing the starter. Instead, they're about building the layers of protection behind that starter, ensuring the team has options if injuries or unexpected situations arise. Still, the arrival of Howell does shine a spotlight on the rest of the quarterback room. Competition is one of the defining features of training camps and preseason battles in the National Football League, and this move suggests that Dallas wants to take a closer look at how its backup options perform when placed side by side in the same environment. When a team brings in another quarterback during the offseason, it almost always sends a message about competition. The Cowboys understand that depth at the most important position in football cannot be taken lightly, especially in a league where a single injury can completely alter the direction of a season. That is why the arrival of Sam Howell immediately shifts attention to the battle that will unfold behind Dak Prescott on the depth chart. At the moment, Dallas has several names in that quarterback room. Prescott remains the clear leader of the offense, the player who commands the huddle and carries the responsibility of guiding the team every week. But behind him, the situation becomes far less certain. Joe Milton and Will Greer are also part of the group, and each of them is trying to prove that they deserve a reliable spot as one of the main backup options. The addition of Howell suggests that the coaching staff wants to create a real competition instead of simply relying on what they already have. Training camp and the preseason are filled with limited opportunities for quarterbacks to show what they can do. Every snap matters, every series matters, and every decision made under pressure can influence the way coaches evaluate a player's future with the team. For Joe Milton, this development could carry extra significance. Milton has always been known for his incredible arm strength, one of the most powerful arms to come out of college football in recent years. When he throws the ball, the velocity is undeniable, and that type of talent naturally attracts attention. However, raw ability alone is rarely enough to secure a long-term role in the National Football League. Quarterbacks must demonstrate consistency, decision-making, and the ability to operate efficiently within a professional offensive system. That is where the challenge becomes more complicated. Reports surrounding Milton's early opportunities have been mixed, and whenever a young quarterback shows inconsistency, teams often respond by increasing competition. Bringing in another quarterback with starting experience, even if that experience came with ups and downs, can push everyone in the room to raise their level. Sam Howell enters the situation with something valuable. He has already started a full season in the National Football League. That experience, even when it includes difficult moments, can be extremely important. Starting multiple games forces a quarterback to read defenses at full speed, handle hostile environments, and manage the pressure that comes with leading an offense against elite competition every week. During his season as a starter, Howell attempted more passes than any other quarterback in the league. That statistic alone tells a story about how heavily the offense relied on him to move the ball. While the results were not always ideal, the experience of handling that level of responsibility can shape a quarterback's understanding of the game. Another aspect that coaches tend to appreciate is mobility. Howell has shown that he can use his legs when plays break down. In a league where defensive linemen are becoming faster and more aggressive every year, a quarterback who can escape pressure and create yards on the ground becomes an additional threat that defenses must respect. Even a few successful scrambles can keep drives alive and change the momentum of a game. For the Cowboys coaching staff, evaluating Howell will likely focus on whether he can refine the areas that caused trouble earlier in his career. One of the biggest challenges he faced during his time as a starter was dealing with pressure. When defenses managed to collapse the pocket, mistakes sometimes followed. Improving decision-making under those circumstances will be a key factor in determining whether he can secure a reliable role. But beyond the individual evaluation of Howell, the bigger picture revolves around roster strategy. National Football League teams rarely carry more quarterbacks than necessary once the regular season begins. During the off-season and preseason, however, it is common to see several quarterbacks competing for limited spots. The Cowboys will eventually have to decide how many they want to keep on the active roster and how many they might place on the practice squad. That decision will depend heavily on performance during camp. Coaches will observe everything from practice sessions to preseason drives. They will look at how quarterbacks command the huddle, how quickly they process defensive coverages, and how effectively they move the offense down the field. Even small details, such as communication with receivers and adjustments at the line of scrimmage, can influence evaluations. Competition also tends to create urgency. When players know that another quarterback is pushing for the same role, preparation becomes more intense. Film study becomes more detailed, practice repetitions become more focused, and every opportunity to impress the coaching staff becomes valuable. That competitive environment is often exactly what teams want when building depth. Another factor worth considering is the unpredictability of an entire season. The National Football League schedule is long and physically demanding. Injuries, unexpected game situations, and strategic adjustments can all force teams to rely on players who originally started the year lower on the depth chart. Having multiple quarterbacks who understand the system and are prepared to step in can make a significant difference when adversity appears. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Rumors are swirling around the Dallas Cowboys as whispers from inside the league hint at a seismic shift in the team's defensive strategy. Sources close to the Cowboys front office suggest that owner Jerry Jones is ready to make a bold move, one that could redefine the identity of the franchise on the defensive side of the ball. According to insiders, Jones has been exploring the possibility of signing a top-tier defensive star, someone whose name alone commands respect across the NFL. The player in question is said to be a game-changer, capable of turning the tide of matches with individual brilliance while bolstering a defense that has often been criticized for inconsistency. The speculation has sent shockwaves through sports circles, with fans and analysts alike debating the potential impact of such a signing. Industry insiders claim that negotiations are at an early stage, but the mere suggestion that Jones is actively pursuing a high-profile defensive talent has ignited excitement. For years, the Cowboys' offense has often grabbed the headlines, leaving the defense in a supporting role. However, the possibility of bringing in a marquee defender could signal a strategic shift, one aimed at creating a more balanced, dominant team capable of challenging for top honors in every game. While details remain scarce, the player's credentials are reportedly impeccable, with accolades and performances that place him among the elite in the league. Observers speculate that Jones's reputation for making headline-grabbing moves could make this one of the most talked-about decisions of the season, especially if it comes to fruition. The Cowboys' locker room is rumored to be buzzing with anticipation, and fans are already imagining the matchup nightmares a defensive superstar could create for opposing quarterbacks. If Jones closes the deal, it could be more than a signing. It could be a statement, signaling that Dallas is serious about rewriting its defensive legacy and asserting itself as a force to be reckoned with across the league. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.